Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed at Hitmix 88.9 WEIU.
Welcome to the Tales of Music and Film podcast. I am DJ Apollo, and I'm very excited because we are on episode 17. The first 16 episodes are up on the WEIU website, and very fun announcement, my podcast is now on Spotify. You can find all 16 current episodes on the Spotify, and it's going fantastic, and I'm very excited for today's episode. And because we are going to continue the Scary Movie month of October with another John Carpenter hit. And I think it's so funny to me because it's just like, I feel like I could just dedicate this whole month to John Carpenter movies. Because literally, when I was making a list of scary movies to cover for this month, literally like 90% of them were John Carpenter hits. So it's just like, maybe I should just dedicate this whole month to John Carpenter's whole film catalog. The guy's made so many amazing scary movies, and I'm a fan of all of them. So today we will be discussing another John Carpenter hit, and that is Christine, released on December 9th, 1983, and it's every car lover's favorite scary movie. John Carpenter, of course, was the director for this movie, and the fantastic music and soundtrack for this film was made by John Carpenter along with Alan Howarth. And John Carpenter is a genius at creating just amazing soundtracks for his movies. He, of course, did the entire Halloween film soundtrack all on his own. And the guy is a genius. I love his music. Like, I can't imagine this movie without his music being in there. It's beautiful. You can find Christine's theme on YouTube, along with new adaptations of people remixing the songs and doing their own takes on it, and they all sound magnificent in their own way. Now, I was actually introduced to the movie Christine due to a YouTube channel I watched called the Grim Light Collective. It's this couple who travel the world, and they do videos. They go to filming locations, and where scary movies are filmed, and they go to places all around the country where scary stuff was spotted and that kind of stuff. Their channel is fantastic. You can find them on YouTube. Highly recommend you go check them out. Fantastic channel. I love them. I haven't watched them in a while, actually. I need to get back to watching them again, see what they're up to. But they did an episode, I think it was around 2015, where they met this guy, and they gave them permission to do an episode where this guy owns one of the Christine cars that was used in the movie. Over 20 1958 Plymouth Furies were used in the making of this movie because Christine, of course, is a 1958 Plymouth Fury that is basically possessed, but I'll get to that later. So over 20 Plymouth Furies were used in this film. A lot of them ended up being destroyed. I think 14 of the 20 were destroyed in the filmmaking. I'm not sure how many survived, but there are film-used Christines out in the world, and this guy happened to own one of them. So they got to do a video of the car, and I remember watching it, and that's how I got introduced to their channel, and it really inspired me to want to go check the movie out. And I got the movie last year for Christmas. So I watched it. It's now instantly one of my favorite John Carpenter films. If I had to do a top three, it would be Halloween 1978, The Thing, and Christine. Fourth place would have to be Big Trouble in Little China, and fifth place would have to be The Fog. All amazing hits. Amazing movies. And this movie actually did pretty well. And a little bit of history for you. This movie came out the year after John Carpenter had directed The Thing, which a lot of fans consider to be his best movie. But unfortunately, the movie did bomb very badly, and John ended up losing his movie contract with Universal. So he had to go find work somewhere else, and he was able to make a deal with someone, and they gave him permission to make a movie adaptation of Stephen King's book, Christine. And he was the perfect guy to make this movie. And the movie's budget was around 9.7 million to 10 million US dollars, and the film would go on to make 21 million. Now, $10 million budget, 20 million box office. That's not really something to be, I guess, happy about. If the movie made its money back, that's a good thing. So this movie wasn't exactly like a mega hit or anything, but it made its money back, and I think it left a very big impression. Like, this car is in this movie, it's extremely famous in scary movie pop culture. Like, I remember going to a car museum in Tennessee back in like 2019, and they had a section dedicated to Christine, and I just knew right away that car in this story means a lot to people, especially car fans. And this movie basically did to the Plymouth Fury what Back to the Future did to the DeLorean. Everybody who owns a Plymouth Fury now, they all want it to look like how Christine looked in the movie. All red with the white roof, with like the black steering wheel, the white tires. They want it as close to the movie as humanly possible, just like how most people are when they buy a DeLorean. They want it to look like how it did in Back to the Future. And this movie has left a huge impact on everyone who watches it, and it's got a magnificent story. And I haven't read the book personally, but from what I've heard, this movie adapts the book pretty darn well. And I'm sure for anybody out there who's watched a lot of movies where it's adapted from books, it's really hard to adapt a book to film because you end up having to cut a lot of stuff out. And films that really suffered from this, of course, was like the Percy Jackson movies, the Harry Potter franchise, just to name a few. You end up having to cut out a lot of key things, and sometimes fans don't like it when they cut stuff out. But luckily in this instance, this movie did a very good job of adapting Stephen King's book. So the main plot of this movie is that the unpopular main character, nerd, his name is Arnie Cunningham, played by Keith Gordon, buys a 1958 Plymouth Fury because he doesn't have a car, and the minute he sees the wreck out in someone's front yard out in the country, the car catches his attention instantly and wants to buy it. And over the course of the movie, Arnie develops a very unhealthy obsession with the car, and it starts to alarm his close friend, who is a jock. His friend's name is Dennis Gilder. Gilder or Gilder. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. And he was played by John Stockwell, who also starred in an 80s movie called My Science Project, and that's a very good movie. And Arnie is bullied over the course of the movie by a guy named Buddy Repperton, and him and his friends end up destroying Christine, but then the car restores itself to perfect condition and begins killing off Buddy and his friends. And Arnie's friend Dennis, along with his girlfriend Leah Cabot, played by Alexandria Paul, they decide to team up and destroy this car and try to save Arnie in the process. You see, this movie is basically a metaphor for everybody out there who has these very unhealthy obsession with their vehicles. And there's a lot of people out there, like a lot of guys that I went to high school with, like they were obsessed with their trucks. You know what I mean? Like I have an ex-friend of mine who I grew up with who was obsessed with his 70s truck that he got and built from the ground up. He was really obsessed with it. Like literally one time I climbed on top of the cab roof just for fun, and he ended up chasing me around my house with full intention to punch me in the face. Like, dude, I just climbed on the roof. I was just joking around. Like, he was really obsessed with that truck. I don't even know if he still has it, but yeah, this whole time I was watching the movie, and it made me think of him and his truck. And like, this movie has a lot of metaphors going for it, but mainly it's about the unhealthy obsession with vehicles. And the cast for this movie is you have Keith Gordon playing Arnie Cunningham. You have John Stockwell playing... John Stockwell plays Dennis Gilder. Alexandria Paul plays Leah Cabot. and they're like the main trio of this movie. And so basically, the premise of this movie is that Arnie, the main character, is a nerd who gets bullied a lot at school, and his best friend Dennis, he's really the only friend he has, tries to stick up for him throughout the movie. But Arnie and Dennis both get bullied by Buddy and his crew, and the movie establishes very quickly how dangerous Christine is, and the kind of life that Arnie has. So let's backtrack for a minute. So one of my favorite scenes, right, in this movie is the opening scene where we see Christine for the first time. The movie opens up with the classic song "Bad to the Bone," which was brilliantly used in Terminator 2. And it opens up in 1957 in a garage where they were building Plymouth Furies. And you see a long line of cars being inspected. They're all Plymouth Furies. They're all white, right? But then out of nowhere, this one red Plymouth Fury comes down the conveyor belt. And one of the workers decides to take a break and sit inside the car, turns on the radio, and he drops a little bit of cigarette ash on the front seat, and that don't make Christine too happy. So we don't hear from the driver in a while, and everybody's about to close up shop. And one of the last workers to leave notices the radio is playing. Opens the cab up, dude's dead. How he died, we'll never know. And before this, one of the workers opens up the hood to check the engine, and Christine doesn't like that, so she drops the hood down and smashes the dude's hand. So she was already ranking up victims within the first 5 minutes. Now, before we continue with the story a little bit, another metaphor this movie has going for itself is that Christine is basically a representation of a woman, because the guy checking the engine and lifting the hood up was basically a metaphor for how a guy checks out, right? When a man checks out a woman, say she's walking by him down the street and he like checks her out or something. That's the metaphor for the guy checking out Christine's engine. She doesn't like that, so she closes the hood down on him because she doesn't like that, and she wants to be treated with respect. Because once Arnie buys the wreck, so we're going to move forward here for a minute. So the opening of the movie, after that, it has a time jump to 1978, which is where the movie takes place in. Arnie gets picked up by his friend Dennis, who shows up in a blue 1969 Dodge Charger, another magnificent muscle car, beautiful American ingenuity. His friend Dennis shows up to pick up Arnie because he does not have a car. And I like this scene a lot because it establishes, how sad Arnie's life is. His parents are extremely strict. He has no friends other than Dennis, and his parents are very mean. They don't try to understand where he's coming from. Like I said, extremely strict. They don't let him do anything. And we get the sense right away that his life is not that great. But they get in the car and they drive to school, and we get this nice little conversation between the two of them while they're driving to school. And this conversation does an amazing job at establishing the friendship between these two. And they get to school, and of course, the bullies show up, start doing their thing to Arnie, and it's really sad, because he doesn't want any trouble. And this movie does a really good job of showing you what bullying can really do to someone. Because another good example, of course, was Stephen King's book, Carrie, which is also adapted in 1976. That's another movie that I need to watch sometime. But Carrie did a fantastic job of capturing what happens when you bully someone. And this movie does a great job of doing that too. Because in Carrie, literally the plot of that movie is that the main girl has powers and she gets bullied the entire movie. She slowly gets worse and worse until during the prom scene when she gets picked to be queen of that school year. She's on the stage, right? Happy, Then these group of bullies pull a prank on her and they dump pig blood on her on the stage, and then she just snaps, loses it. She uses her powers on the entire crowd, and she ends up killing like 30 plus of the students in the room and literally burns the school down to the ground. And the whole movie is just a metaphor of like, you don't bully because you're going to end up turning that person into someone they're not supposed to be, because a person can only take so much before they snap. That's literally what the whole premise of that movie is talking about. And Christine, it doesn't touch bullying to that level, but it just shows you, hey, it's wrong. And the movie establishes early on that Dennis's character, one of the main girls in this movie, Roseanne, played by the late, great Kelly Preston, rest in peace. She passed away from cancer a couple years ago, and she was magnificent in this movie as well, and we miss her dearly. Her character, Roseanne, has a huge crush on Dennis, but Dennis is more interested in the new girl, Leah, played by Alexandria Paul, because she's a new student on campus, and Arnie has a thing for her as well. And poor Roseanne, she shows how interested she is in Dennis, but Dennis doesn't really notice at all. And I'm just like, dude, come on, ask her out. She really likes you, you know? But I mean, hey, high school relationships, you get the drill. And then we cut to the classroom scene, because when Arnie and Dennis get to school, they go to their lockers, and it establishes, that Alexandria has a thing for Dennis, but doesn't really go anywhere. Then we learn about the new girl, and she comes walking by, like Leah walks by Arnie and Dennis at their lockers, and it establishes right away they both fall in love with her instantly. And then it cuts to them in the classroom. And the teacher leaves for like 5 minutes. And then during this is where the bullies bully Arnie and they destroy his lunch in front of him. And then Dennis sticks up for him, and he ends up getting kicked in the stomach. So he gets the breath knocked out of him. And then one of the bullies literally pulls a knife out on Arnie. And the teacher witnesses the whole thing, and they get expelled from the school instantly. I'm just like, guys, what the heck were you thinking? It's like, these bullies don't make any sense to me. It's like, you're on school property, and you know the teacher's going to be coming back in a few minutes. Why the heck would you pull a knife out? It's just like, what were you expecting to happen? Like, these guys are, I would say, a little bit generic. It's just the things they say and do is so mean. I know it was the 80s, different time. It's just the things they do. It's like, how the heck were these guys not arrested? They really threatened to stab Arnie. It's like, and they only get expelled. So, whatever. I guess we can just chalk that up as movie logic. So anyway, after all this happens, it cuts to the end of the school day. Dennis and Arnie are taking a drive out in the Charger out in the back roads of their town just to blow off some steam, because they both didn't really have the best day at school. Like, gee, I wonder why. And then that's when Arnie notices the Christine wreck in someone's yard with a for sale sign on it. And they drive up, and he's like, Dennis, stop the car. I just noticed something. So they back up, see the wreck, they drive over to it, and Arnie is in love with the wreck instantly. The minute the guy comes walking out, tells him the car's condition, how much he wants, Arnie's like, I'll take it, without a doubt. He doesn't think for 2 seconds. He's like, I want this car, give it to me now. Because Christine's spirit, it has a way of making people want to buy her. It's kind of like how, women attract some guys. Like Christine's literally a representation of a very clingy girlfriend, if you will, and I'll get more into that later. So Arnie ends up buying the wreck, and it works kind of, and he drives it to this scrap yard, and he cuts a deal with the guy who owns that land that he can work on the wreck himself, and he can borrow any parts from the other wrecked cars out on that property. So he ends up fixing up the car, and like over the course of the movie, Arnie starts to change, kind of in a good way at first. He starts standing up for himself more. He changes his outfit. He used to wear bright colors, and he starts wearing black with like dark blue jeans. and then he stops wearing his glasses, right? So we're starting to root for him. But then around an hour in, Dennis starts noticing these warning signs about Arnie because he's not acting like himself anymore. He's changing. He's starting to become like not who he was at the beginning. He's like becoming this bully. And I feel like what this is symbolizing is how whenever a guy gets into a very serious relationship in high school, all they think about is their girlfriend. And sometimes the girlfriends have a way of getting inside the dude's head and making him not think things through on some things. And that was what this film was representing with Arnie and Christine. So Arnie ends up getting Christine back to perfect working condition. She looks brand new. She looks like Arnie just drove her off a car shop lot. Looks brand new, right? And Dennis decides to make a move on Leah, but plot twist, Leah was already asked on a date by someone else, and it was Arnie. Arnie asked her out on a date, and they go to see a movie at the drive-in theater. And here is where we get one of my favorite scenes in the movie, where they're at the drive-in. It's pouring rain, right? They're sitting inside the cab, and Leah and Arnie are making out. But a little while after, Leah starts feeling this negative energy about the car, and she's not liking it very much. And she's starting to notice that Arnie has this very unhealthy obsession with the car, and Leah punches the seat, right? And then Arnie's like, "Can you not do that, please? Don't." And she's like, "What? You don't like me slapping your girl?" Because she catches on very quickly because Arnie treats Christine like a girlfriend in a way, and Christine of course gets jealous about Arnie and Leah. So what she does is she stops her windshield wipers. Arnie gets out, right, to try to fix it. And then Christine closes the doors, locks them, and now Leah's trapped inside. She takes a bite out of the burger. Christine turns on her radio. Leah gets shocked and she starts choking on her burger, and Arnie can't open the door to get her out of the car. So he's trying to open the door, right? And she's choking to death in the car, and some guy managed to get the door open and perform the Heimlich maneuver on her, and they get her to spit her burger out. And the minute that whole ordeal happens, Leah refuses to get inside that car ever again. She tells Arnie that there's something about that car that I don't like. Why is it only playing old music? Because Christine, she talks to her victims through her radio. What she does is she plays old music, right? The lyrics to the songs are her talking to whoever is inside the cab. For example, right after this whole scene happens where Leah runs inside the house because she's done with Arnie at the moment due to the whole thing that happened at the theater, Arnie gets back in the car and Christine refuses to turn on every time he turns the ignition. So then he's like, "Christine, now listen to me, baby. Everything's fine. Nothing's changed. You're my number one priority." She turns back on without a care in the world, and she starts playing a Buddy Holly song. No, it's not Buddy Holly, but she starts playing this song. "I don't know why I love you like I do." Da-dun-da-dun-dun. Like, it's her telling her, "I don't know why I like you so much," And earlier on in the film, she played a song, "You're mine, do-do-do, and we belong together." That's her talking to Arnie. So I think that's pretty cool how she uses old music to talk to whoever her owner is. Nice little detail. That's why she only plays 50s music. So after that whole thing happens, something weird starts happening. Christine starts killing Arnie's bullies because after this whole part, right, there's a scene in the movie where one of Arnie's bullies is walking down a highway at night, and you notice Christine sneaking up on him, she turns on the headlights and starts chasing him down the highway. He runs for a good length of the film, but Christine runs him over. Like, because what happens is he gets stuck in this very tight alley, and then Christine just drives into him, splitting him in half. And that whole scene, you're wondering, it's like, is Christine driving on her own, or is Arnie driving her? We don't know. Throughout the course of the film, you're wondering, is Arnie doing this, or is the car possessed? It's like, it kind of makes you wonder, it's like, who's doing this? And then the rest of the bullies end up getting killed over the next, like, about the halfway point in the film, I believe it is. Buddy and his other friends are at a gas station, and Christine comes in and literally collides into Buddy's car, and it starts leaking gas, and the whole gas station blows up, killing two other bullies, and Buddy's the last one. So he just like he runs down the highway, right, all by himself at night. And here comes one of the most spookiest scenes in the movie. Christine comes busting out of the burning building, fully on fire, and starts chasing Buddy down the highway, and the haunting music is playing. And what's cool about this scene, a stuntman actually had to drive the car while it was fully on fire. And I watched an interview once where he was talking about how, like, during that whole sequence, he could barely see because, the car's on fire. It's blacking out the windshield, so he can't see anything. Like, can you imagine being paid, be like, okay, so stuntman, here's what you're doing, right? You're going to get inside of this car. It's going to be completely engulfed in flames, and you have to drive it down this highway for about 3 minutes. It's like, that's insane. Like, dude, back in the 80s, stunt work was insane. The things that they were able to get away with, I'm just like, there is no way. I don't think film companies would allow you to do stunt work like that today. The risks they took in this are just mind-blowing to me. So Christine ends up running over Buddy. So now all the bullies are dead now. And but here's the thing: we're gonna backtrack for a minute because I just skipped one of the most crucial scenes in this movie. So after Dennis finds out that Arnie is dating Leah, he finds out because the minute he gets Christine fixed up, right, they drive to a football game where Dennis is playing, and he sees them kissing while leaning against the hood of Christine. And the bullies notice that Arnie has the car now, and they want to get back at him because they blame him for the reason they've been banned from school. So they follow him to the car lot, and they sneak into the building, and they destroy Christine with sledgehammers. Now, this scene is very hard to watch because the actors literally destroyed a beautiful, perfect condition 1958 Plymouth Fury. Like, can you imagine, like, being told that you have to destroy this beautiful car? I don't know if I would be able to do that. Like, this car is beautiful. The work, the amount of effort that went into it, I have to destroy it. It's not for car lovers. That scene is very hard to watch. So the scene happens after the whole theater sequence that I talked about earlier. Arnie and Leah come back the following day, and they find Christine completely destroyed. And of course, Leah's happy about this. So she's like, come on, Arnie, let's just go. It's just a car. And the minute she says that to Arnie, Arnie loses it. He snaps and tells her to go away and whatnot. So I assume their relationship was kind of over at that point after that whole thing happened. And the following night, Arnie was putting her back together, and he turns his back, right? He hears repair noises, turns around. The engine was instantly fixed. So that's when he realizes that Christine is more than a car. And this next sequence is memorized in my brain forever. So once Arnie realizes what Christine really is, he walks a few feet forward in front of her and he goes, okay, show me. Christine's headlights turn on and she just repairs herself. The whole scene is just her building or repairing herself from the ground up. And this scene is so cool to me because John Carpenter did this really cool film trick. He reversed the footage of the car getting destroyed, so it looks like Christine is repairing herself. It's a very awesome sequence. And this scene is a metaphor for basically a woman stripping in front of her boyfriend. Like, she's revealing everything to him. Like, Christine is not holding back anymore. She's revealing everything to Arnie due to how much she likes Arnie. So that's a metaphor, because you have like this, love making like jazz music playing or something. So that's what that whole scene is basically symbolizing, is Christine revealing herself to Arnie fully. So she repairs herself. She's back to working order. And once all the bullies are killed, the police start investigating Arnie in the car. And by this point, Arnie is like 100% gone. Christine's spirit has 100% turned him into this very bad guy who thinks all the bullies deserved what they got and whatnot. And Leah and Dennis realize that there is something about that car that's making Arnie the way he is, and they realize that Christine's the one who's been killing people. So they decide that they have to destroy the car and stop this evil from harming anyone else. So they set a plan in motion to lead the car back to the scrap yard and trap it inside the giant garage and run it over with one of the steamroller vehicles. And the plan goes south because Christine was already waiting for them by the time they get to the building. And by this point, it's revealed that Arnie was driving her the entire time. Like, he was driving her when during all the scenes when Christine murdered the bullies. Like, she has fully possessed Arnie. He's gone. And there's a scary shot of him driving, and like his eyes are like completely black, and his whole body has like no color in the skin. He's just an empty shell now. And it's so sad. And like, Leah and Dennis are trying to save him, but during the chase sequence inside the garage, Christine ends up crashing into a wall, and Arnie comes flying out through the windshield, and he gets impaled by glass, and he dies right in front of Christine. And the last thing he does is he touches the hood, and then he dies. And then Christine turns her headlights off because she feels bad. She didn't mean to kill him like that. But then she starts going after Dennis and Leah, and they end up winning because Dennis traps Christine in a corner, and then he starts driving over her in the steamroller, and they end up crushing her completely, and they end up putting her through a compactor where they send old vehicles through to be scrapped. And the movie ends with her just, destroyed, literally a block. And Dennis and Leah are so sad that they couldn't save Arnie, and they wish they could have did better to help him. And that's another metaphor. It's like where people don't notice warning signs about someone till it's too late most of the time. I feel like this movie is trying to tell you, it's like, if you notice something wrong about your friend and he's not acting him or her normal self, that's a sign that, something's going on and you need to talk to them, have them open up about whatever it is that's bugging them. Unfortunately, Dennis and Leah realized too late, and it led to Arnie being killed. So that's something else that this movie was symbolizing. But the movie literally ends right where we hear Bad to the Bone playing again, and the metal starts to move. So like, Christine is repairing herself. So like, it's kind of, dude, the ending of this reminds me of a lot of Halloween, where it's like the heroes think they won, but the evil is still there. And you see the metal start to bend, so Christine is going to be coming back. And then boom, it just ends. And dude, I'm telling you, this whole movie has aged extremely well, and I highly recommend you check this movie out. It's got an amazing story, amazing stunt work, amazing soundtrack. It's like the perfect scary movie to add to your marathon. I think John Carpenter did an amazing job with this, and I would love to meet anybody who is involved in the filmmaking of this. 'Cause, like, one of my dreams right now because of this movie is to someday get a chance to drive a 1958 Plymouth Fury. That car is forever going to be remembered because of this movie. And I'm telling you, fantastic picture. I think Stephen King was very happy with the way they made this movie and the way they adapted the story. And I'm telling you, almost 40 years, this movie's going to be 40 years old next year, which is mind-blowing to me. But 4 decades later, this movie holds up extremely well. And I need to rewatch it again someday. And I'm really bummed that we never got a sequel to this. I feel like, I have my fingers crossed that someday, like, Blumhouse picks up the rights to Christine, because I want a sequel so bad. It's like, guys, you just finished up the new Halloween trilogy, and you're in the middle of trying to make a new Nightmare on Elm Street with Robert Englund. It's like, please make a Christine sequel. I want one so bad. It's like, oh, I want it so bad because, like, it was left open. Like, you can make a sequel. That'd be perfect. I hope someday soon that gets to happen. That would be magnificent. But that is the end of this episode. I had a great time getting to cover Christine, and you can find it on Amazon on Blu-ray for like $10-12, and I highly recommend you check it out. It's an amazing movie, and if your town happens to have a rental store, I would recommend checking out the horror section because they might have it. It's a very famous scary movie, and it is a masterpiece of a scary movie in my personal opinion. So I highly recommend you check it out. This is episode 17 on Tales of Music and Film. I want to say thank you for listening to this episode, and I will see all of you in the next one. This is DJ Apollo here on the Tales of Music and Film.